Hey, how's it going? My name is Daniel. This is Metal Sharpens Metal, and this video is about my CD collection. I got this idea from a viewer named Messenger Upon Disgrace, and thank you for that, by the way. I thought about taking you through this alphabetically, the way I have them organized here, but then I decided to go through 3 different sections of my music journey that brought me to the music I like today. This is a little bit of a longer video, so hopefully you'll stick around and have some laughs, have some tears, I don't know. Nostalgia does weird things to me too. I also got some stories to share surrounding some interactions I've had with a few of these bands. So stick around if you want to hear how I was a bonehead as a younger man. So first, we're going to start with a band that you may have heard of called Under Oath. Obviously, this album was like a big gateway drug for a lot of people. I first heard Under Oath on When the Sun Sleeps was the song. I was blanking on the album. Changing of Times. Got there. And it was the first screaming song that I had ever heard as well. I was disturbed. My 10th grade self couldn't quite handle that. But I was also intrigued for some reason. I guess I liked pain.
I see through a hard exterior to a little jelly in the middle.
So I had my friend burn me a disc of different songs, including that one. We went into, Norma Jean, Beloved was on there, Hopes Fall, some real bangers. I wish I could find that CD actually. Oh, I might know where it is actually. That makes me laugh. I could have also lost it in a car that crashed. Could have been my fault. I'm never going to say. I was getting hooked into all that stuff. Seosin was also on that one. I believe maybe Emery. No, I don't think so. I think I found Emery before that friend and made me feel very special inside. You know that feeling you get when you taste the hipster drugs of finding something before all your friends? It's addictive. But anyway, then that same friend was like, hey, they're going to come out with this new album, and guess what? It's going to be totally different. And I was like, I don't know what that means when a band changes sounds. My first band that I ever got into was Hanson when I was like, how young would I have to say for it to not be embarrassing? But the point is, when he said that this was going to be that, I was just like, well, I mean, they have the same name, so I'm just going to listen to it. And I did, and it was amazing. And when I bought it off of the shelves at Sam Goody, yeah, I was super pumped. I remember actually going back even further. I don't have it here, but I bought Creed's Human Clay album when I first heard the song Take Higher at my local pool because they played radio stuff, and I was like, I need whatever this is. It is making my skin do funny things. My veins are pumping blood at a different rate than normal. Give me this album. And then me and my mom bought the album, and then we listened to it in the car, and I was like, why is this so hard and heavy, and I don't like it? Why are they mean? Higher is so positive and uplifting. And that was my first experience buying an album for a song and then being disappointed. That was my fault. I mean, it's a banger album, so what did I know? But when I first got this, I was just listening to every song, and I was just like, this is so good. I will say the Impact of Reason kind of threw me off because I was used to the singing, and Impact of Reason had, just screams the whole way through. So it was it was a little bit of a baptism by fire for me at the time. And then, of course, we've got Define the Great Line that came out. Big fan of that as well. I was getting into the harder stuff at the time. This was scratching that itch. Bought Lost in the Sound of Separation right there. Boop. And it was pretty good, but I was like, they're getting a little too artsy for me, just stick to the stuff that I like, stick to the stuff that I'm used to. And of course, once you figure out one album by a band, you have to go back and get all the old stuff. So I got The Running by Beloved as well after that point when my friend showed me to them. They don't know who I am. This was actually a sick EP. Wasn't this an EP? Yeah, these are great. This was, I love Beloved. I wasn't as into Advent at the time, but I really did like Joe's vocals. He was very guttural and brutal and like intense, and just, you wanted to listen to whatever he was saying. So, and these guys, pairing it again with the singing, that's what programmed my brain to like melodic metalcore after that. So another huge player for me at the time was Emery. The Week's End. Oh boy, I listened to this album a lot. I tried to learn most of these songs on drums because they were a little simpler than friggin' Jordan Mancino from As I Lay Dying. I couldn't keep up with his double bass, of course. But learning these songs, you learn some dance beats, you learn some bigger rock beats, and then the fills. He had some really cool fills, and like little bits of cymbal work and closed hi-hat. Open and closed hi-hat is not something you get much in metal. Normally they just leave it open the whole time while they're cranking the double bass on it. So yeah, learned some good drums from this. The Question was a huge fan of that. It was like the only show tune that I ever liked. It was much more theatrical in a lot of ways, but the way that Toby and Devin would pair off vocals and go back and forth, it was there since day one, but then it just went so above and beyond in all their later albums. You got the harmonies in there as well, like so many vocal layers. These guys really paid attention to the vocal arrangements, and I really liked that. It stood out. Emery was also special to me because at the time I was listening to this music kind of in secret. I was like not sure what my parents were going to think about it if they knew there was a bunch of screams in it. Scary stuff. So I'd listen to it on my Walkman, and my sister just kept pestering me. What are you listening to? Can I listen? Can I please listen? And I just kept telling her, you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. I eventually showed it to her. I think I showed her Walls or something because I just really wanted her to get smacked out of the gate, kind of like I was. And she was like, noted. Thank you, brother. Okay. And then she left. She mopped up her bleeding ears and she went and proceeded to listen to that album over and over. She told me because she wanted me to think that she was cool. Spoiler alert, she is cool. And then she ended up liking it so much that she was going to Warped Tour. She was getting signed sticks from Aaron Gillespie. When she saw Under Oath, she went and saw an All That Remains show without me. She wasn't trying to exclude me. I just was busy or something. So she actually got into the music at the time, and we have lots of good memories from then. Okay, where else? Going way back. I first started getting into, let me just pull that up because, of course I don't have it here. I probably didn't put it here because I was embarrassed. But I was getting really into Reliant K, Five Iron Frenzy. The punk side really fascinated me. This was before my screaming experience. But Rufio was a big one at the time. And Slick Shoes, when I found out who those guys were and that they were a Christian punk band, I was like, this is so cool. Like actually fast. It could actually impress some of my friends who liked, secular punk and some of those bands, AFI and Black Flag and whatever else. It kind of stood up. It was skater punk. It was different, right? But those albums really started getting me thinking about fast drumming, fast music in general. And they even had, when you go back and listen to Slick Shoes, Wake Up Screaming and stuff, there were some kind of metal riffs on there and some lead lines. Yeah, really liked that stuff. Got me pushed forward into where I am today. Also, somewhere in this time, I had a friend introduce me to The Artist in the Ambulance by Thrice. Another example of a CD where I'm like, where did this thing go? I know I owned this. I know it's been on my iPod for 2 decades now. Why is it not in my CD collection? I couldn't tell you. It makes me sad. And I'm probably going to need to rebuy some of these CDs at some point, but there's a number of them and I'm not ready to drop a couple $100 right now. But Biesu also was a sick album. Thrice was blowing my mind ever since Artist in the Ambulance, and then went back and got The Illusion of Safety. And then when Visu came out, amazing. And then the Alchemy Index, loving all of it. And then I started feeling like they were getting a little more, kind of indie rock in some ways. But then they had their heavy moments. They had their, big melodic sections. They, of course, were still sticking to biblical stories and scriptural lyrics and things that I was just enamored with. Because I remember looking through the lyrics of actually Identity Crisis. I know I have that. Are you kidding me? I remember actually looking through the lyrics of Identity Crisis when I was younger and being like, these are like Christian conversion stories. The identity crisis was his heart of stone being removed and a heart of flesh being given to him, and him being like, I'm turning my life to the Lord. So you read those lyrics, and again, those with eyes to see are going to see a Christian conversion story. Amazing lyrics. I can't remember the song name, but being an ignorant, craterless meteorite, he calls himself a meteorite with no craters to prove how little he's lived. And then he basically comes out of the cave and he follows the torch out. Kind of Plato's cave analogy, but more, the Lord is the only one that can do this. Though all was lost, now more is found, and all is found and more is gained. So amazing albums. Thrice was a huge component to my Christian music journey, Christian metal journey, eventually, with Under Oath and As I Lay Dying, kind of all at the same time. And this was This was some good stuff. Ooh, yeah. No discussion of early emo would be complete without Silverstein. When broken is easily fixed. This was another one. I remember November was on that mix CD as well. Oh man. Oh, I totally forgot that he put them on there. So yeah, really loved Silverstein, some of their earlier ones. This one and then the water one. Discovering the Waterfront. Gosh, you love to see these. So much nostalgia tied up there. Oh, we're still in the older section because I keep forgetting bands. And then of course that CD led me to love Seosin. So, I got the self-titled and most of their other stuff after that they had Cove on. Played at Warped Tour, watching their silly vlogs that they put on YouTube. Yeah, I couldn't get enough. Everyone wanted to be Cove. Everyone wanted to grow out their hair, including me. Yep, and it was just an amazing time. Less to worry about in the world, right? By this time in my life, I was still shaving Peach Fuzz and contemplating the best characters in Super Smash Bros. Melee, by the way. So beard care was the last thing on my mind. But now that I, and likely you, based on the statistics, are a 30-something reliving the glory days of your music journey, it's time to start considering that persistent shadow under your chin. Bane Blends is an awesome provider of beard care products such as oils, butters, and deodorants, and it's run by a great guy named Jacob. In fact, Jacob is such a great guy that he is offering a 20% discount to anybody who watches my channel. If you use the code METAL at checkout, you can get 20% off your order. So if you want to moisturize your beard with some amazing scents, go over to baneblends.com. Also tell him that I sent you so that he can fear the cold bite of sharpened steel. Or don't. You don't have to say that. It's a little weird, I know, but just, it goes with the theme of just do what you want. I can be a benevolent dictator. Don't fall over now. So during that time of emo, screamo, whatever you want to call that, I of course discovered Anberlin. I still remember there was a cardboard cutout of the band at my local Best Buy when I was going to buy one of their albums, and I was like, wow, these guys look just so cool. I want to look like them. And then, the skills that can come later, and maybe there's years of hard work behind that. Who knows? Like, you're just in high school and you just see people you want to emulate. Really fell in love with the album with Paper Thin Hymn on it. There's Blueprints. Never Take Friendship Personal. Got there in the end. Oh, and that song itself, that was the one that really sold me. I think that could have been the first one I heard. So when Cities came out, I was like, okay, let's do it. And wow, the beginning. I was so hooked. It was a little concerning. I had the is this it? Oh no, it is it. It's the flippin' dual disc, and I'm missing the second one. It's probably still in my computer that I listened to it in college or something. Oh my gosh, I got the City Pass. Oh, this must have just been part of the CD. Your Ambulance City Pass is your gateway to the world. An opportunity to win. I don't remember if I ever entered that code, but watched the documentary. Gosh, I thought Steven was cool. I thought he was mysterious in like the sense of, or inaccessible in the way that I was like, I don't want to necessarily be all like you, but there's something about you that I just can't deny is special. He wasn't even, to be honest, my favorite vocalist. Like, I know that's hard to imagine. He's very iconic in this band, but there were some ways that he sang, and I was kind of like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. But then some of his lines, I was like, that just hit so hard. So, at the time, I was maybe looking for something flashier than what I needed. I bought his book too. I forgot about that. The Orphaned Anythings, is that what it was? I forget what it's about too. Saw them at Warped Tour. Got to take a picture with them. If I can find it, I'll put it up here. One embarrassing story with Anberlin. I was going to see them at a show with a friend. We got to the venue, if I remember, a little late. We had just gotten some probably Little Caesars hot and ready. You know what I'm saying? We'd gotten there. We were going in. I don't think it was too late, but there were already people like walking away from the venue, and it was like kind of a medium-sized venue at the time, and they were capable of playing and filling out like a much bigger venue. So, it was going to go to capacity that night, but we weren't thinking about that. So we see people walking away. We think not much of it. This one dude walks right up to us and goes, "Hey, are you guys going to the show tonight?" We're like, "Yeah, we're trying to go to Anberlin. We might be hearing there's no tickets. What do you know?" He's like, "Well, I've got two if you want them." And, being people who had gone to shows downtown before, we were used to scalpers. We were used to the, people that wanted to kind of play into that. And we were like, "Oh, okay, how'd you get them?" And he goes, "Well, I'm in the band."
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Internal screaming commenced, and I finally recognized him as Joseph Mulligan. You ever heard of him? Just the lead guitarist of Anne Boleyn. Just the guy that I had been looking at on billboards and posters and CD, art for the past like 10 years at that point. And I didn't recognize Joseph. I was so mad at myself.
I failed you. You trusted me. And I failed you.
But he seriously offered us 2 tickets, and he said they're free, but the only caveat is you need to give them back to me because I like to collect the ticket stubs and give them to my dad. And I was like, dude, man, this is so cool. And then the wheels start turning. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going to meet the band after the show. This is going to be so awesome. Security will have to let us through. We'll have ticket stubs that we need to get back to Joseph. You've heard of Joseph. You're just a man you're protecting right now, sir. So anyway, get through the show. Amazing set. And go to the side of the venue that kind of like leads to the back where their buses and stuff are parked. And we wait there for a while. I don't remember if we actually told the security that we were like kind of expected, trying to play it off. They're not having that. They didn't believe a single thing we said. They're like, you guys can wait here. Joseph comes up, takes the stubs. We say, thank you so much. Also, sorry for not recognizing you. He's like, it's fine, man. He just like takes him. He's like, it's all good. He bounced. So that was my brush with fame, and I fumbled it hard. That was very embarrassing for my mid-college years self. Right there. Yep. See, and then just even going through it. Dead Poetic was putting out some stuff. Holy smokes, this was so... I think I found this through a guy at youth group, right? And it was just such a good, well put together album. Very look at how they got the fraying barcode, like that, just they were awesome. Hearing the melodic singing, interchange with the vocals, yes please, loved it. And then found out they were Christian. I was like, yep, all about that. And He Is Legend was another band I think that we found at Warped Tour or at a show with somebody else that we liked. I know that they played with the Showdown a couple times. Oh my, yeah, this album was like, I don't know, a meth head's interpretation of Romeo and Juliet, but they liked Southern metal and had to fight the demon somehow. So then they made an album out of it. Like that's really what this sounded like. It was so insane, but at the same time, like it was actually written by professionals. Like these songs were very good. China White, The Seduction, of course, intro, and then ending with I Am Hollywood. What a mess. They were all over the place, but really liked this stuff. Really got into it with a few friends and saw them at several shows. It was weird. It was like weird but approachable. You're kind of disconcerted, but you're like, I want to go find out about that guy. And then you watch a show and you see their lead singer licking their bald bassist's head, and then he just goes back and like sits on this couch with like his friends hanging around, and he's got his eyeliner on. And I was like, I was gonna go talk to the band, and now I'm terrified. I'm like, someone's gonna put a hit on me if I talk to you. So, but yeah, this album was a banger. I'm so mad. And then I had a friend that started introducing me to metalcore, and that was a whole new level of like, okay, predictability, precision with like drumming and the riffs and everything. I liked it. It didn't feel sloppy or chaotic, and my mind likes order usually. So I'm like, okay. And he got me into a little band known as I Lay Dying. Now, this is the first example I have where somehow I don't have the album that started it all, which I know I had it at some point, but I've either lost it over the years, left it in people's cars. I've also tried to go back and search in the same places I've been searching for years. Every 6 months, I'm like, I have the motivation to be like, I'll find it this time, surely. What was that Einstein quote about insanity and trying the same thing? I don't know. But anyway, As I Lay Dying, I think I heard 94 Hours on pure volume or whatever I was listening to at the time. And the double bass came in, and I was like, the world, hello, you need to be aware of this. And I told a friend at school, and he was like, well, they just use triggers to make it sound faster. And I was like, none of those words mean anything to me. I love this song and I love this band, so I don't care what you just said, whatever it means. That same friend was getting me into bands like Unearth and Killswitch Engage a little bit later. Lamb of God, he loved the Lamb of God. Not the real one, though. That was unfortunate. As a Christian, I was like, hey, what about like Christianity though? We had a couple of conversations. You know, it's funny. I remember actually buying the Lamb of God Communion album. I'm pretty sure. I think I do still have it. That was called Sacrament. Was it called Sacrament or? And that guy was into drumming like me, so we actually had a few times where I got to go over to his house. At one point, when I finally got my first drum kit, I brought it over. We set them up facing each other and had a drum off where we'd play the same, just 4/4 beat, and then every other measure we trade off doing a different fill. And we look at each other like, oh yeah, that was sick. Or like, I know which song you're quoting right here. Yes, that was awesome. Loved that time of the high school years. Unearth alphabets. When I found the Showdown, pure volume, I think, holy smokes. A Monument Encased in Ash starts off with so much melody and the tapping or whatever it is, their lead line, and then the chugs. And then they had a little bit of the Southern twang, but I wasn't like trained to listen for it yet. So I didn't recognize it till later when they really went heavy on it. But this album, I was like, how can it be so heavy and so like Lord of the Rings feeling? And they're talking about Old Testament songs, Old Testament, lyrics. And I'm like, this is kind of blowing my mind. Wow. Dagon Undone. Yeah. Remember when that guy fell over and his head popped off because they kept trying to set him up in front of the ark in front of him. Oh yeah. This was a banger. Oh my gosh. I forgot that I owned this. Remember 36 36 Crazy Fists? Yeah, Rest Inside the Flames. Oh man. The Autumn Offering. Fear Will Cast No Shadow. This was full of some bangers. Metalcore was doing some good things in the early 2000s, and I was all about it. Another band that really blew my socks off was It Dies Today. I think I first heard them. I think the Caitiff Choir was on a Victory Records like sample disc thing. Starting off with the double bass and the O's, just like that was an amazing time. When I first saw their lead singer, Nick, I just remember his name. When I saw a picture of him with like the swoopy hair and maybe some eyeliner at the time, I was like, that guy is super tough. Again, you just have to be with me in this mindset to like be aware of kind of where my head was at the time. Their album Sirens came out, a couple years later, and it was 2006. Wow. Yeah, that was just a great example of songwriting abilities and professionalism. They stepped things up. They were a little less chaotic than on the Caitiff Choir, and less heavy, I would say. But overall, I was like, I got the melodies. They do have brutal moments. I really liked Nick's vocals. I really, really liked him. And he could sing those parts live. I did get to see them at one point, I believe, with He Is Legend. That was a sweet show. And it's like, man, yeah, you can do this stuff. So I'm a big fan of that. At some point, I also heard Killswitch Engage. I believe the first song was End of Heartache. Got that album at some point. And then As Daylight Dies, of course, you have to have this. Gosh, yeah, this was an amazing album. And, of course, leading right into, actually, now that I remember it, I got All That Remains. I got into them first because I heard The Deepest Gray. And they had just a little singing, just a little bit on that one. Phil, he did it on a few other songs here, but he just wasn't totally set on that style until, of course, the fall of Ideals. So yeah, these 2006, it was such a year. It was such a year. Bangers coming out all over the place. It was so good. And my friend got me into Zayo at one point. I didn't have that same connection, that visceral reaction of loving it the way that a lot of people do when they get into Zayo, their earlier stuff. And they were getting into a lot of Christian metal, Living Sacrifice, Extol, all that great stuff. But yeah, that was a little later for me. I did not get this album in 2004, as far as I can remember. And of course, we've got Hasted Day. This CD has seen some better times. I mean, the CD itself is holding up, but oh my gosh, as I open it, this like crack is gonna tear it apart. But Burning Bridges was the first thing I heard, Blue 42, and I hear it and I'm like, I need that melody in my life. So this, and then been following them ever since. Went back to their first EP as well after that. Yeah, right there. That They May Know You. Many Waters, Cannot Quench Love. That was a sick one. And Who We Are. Oh man, what do we got here? Now I would be remiss if I did not include Oh Sleeper in this list. I mean, they were, oh my goodness. I heard the Archers song from their first album, and I was like, man, this is a little bit too chaotic almost, but I can tell that there's like some really cool stuff going on here. I wanted to figure it out. This album came out, it was much more straightforward metalcore, but still with some shred. And gosh, Micah's vocals were on point. It just was so, you know how a song is like not actually heavy, but when you hear it, you're like, there's just like pent up energy in this song that belies like some kind of heavier motif or something. Does that make any sense what I just said? The point is, some of these things sound heavier to me, and it wasn't just because I was young and inexperienced, but like they actually had some level of heaviness that just kind of wasn't achieved by tons of bands at the time. So yeah, really fell in love with this album. Another one that I can't forget about still remains. This is their like comeback album that I got in. I can't read the date or see it, but that's like, again, why? Oh no, I know I have the Serpent. I know I do.
No.
Oh, come on. Okay, so this is infuriating because I know I have the Serpent album, the one with the snake, looking at the nest with the egg in it. My gosh, Christian metalcore with keyboards, not as spazzy as like Tack Attack, crabcore, but like still had so much melody going on and some heavy breakdowns. My goodness, I could not get enough of Still Remains, Haste the Day, bands like that back in the day. So yes, big fan. What else? Oh my gosh. Oh boy, I almost forgot that I had this. Atreyu, A Death Grip on Yesterday. Yeah, another Warped Tour find for me. Well, let me think about that. No. Oh, this was one of the bands that was on my friend's burned disc. Thank you, Phil, for that, by the way. There's no way you're watching this. Anyway, yeah, he had put, oh gosh, it was the famous one from the album before this. Two albums before this. I'm totally forgetting. It had the tapping at the beginning. I'm gonna find that song. But yeah, I kept up with them because they got more, pop oriented, big choruses and things like that. It turned off some of my friends who liked the more chaotic and heavy stuff, but I was all about it. You hear these songs in Need for Speed Underground and you're just like, yep, yeah, I see the context. Bullet for My Valentine, I don't think I've got any of their CDs, but like, yeah, hearing them on there. I heard Mastodon for the first time on that game too. That was an epic playlist for that game. I got like, see, how do I have my the Devil Wears Prada Plagues album and not have friggin' Artist in the Ambulance, as well as Roots Above? This was the scene core, emo, screamo, whatever you want to call it, like the stuff that you listen to and you're just like, this is so spazzy, and there's the keyboards, going nuts. Love that at the time. And then you hear the line in, what would it have been? All glory to the one in existence. Pull that up when I find it. Now, a big moment in high school happened to me when my friend first showed me August Burns Red, and it was specifically Thrill Seeker. This is their 20-year anniversary. It's got to be 20. Yeah, it's definitely 20. Oh my gosh. It was like another Under Oath moment all over again because I was so not used to all screaming, heaviness, breakdowns all over the place, kind of dissonant sounding stuff. Like there wasn't a ton of melody that was like uplifting or hopeful, or there was no choruses in a lot of these songs. So it was a lot to get used to. It felt very foreign to me. So we listened to this album. I was like, I don't know about that. It's like eating the spiciest food ever. And I'm like, the flavor was okay, but I just, that was a lot. So, and then I just kept coming back to it and loved it. I couldn't get enough. When they put out Messengers, I was hooked forever. And then Constellations came out. I was like, how in the world are they going to beat Messengers? I had seen it live multiple times, Warped Tour, local shows, and screaming my heart out with the boys, just jumping up. Our lungs are burning. Our throats are burning. August was burning. After that point, I mean, I just was so hooked to this and like so expected this type of stuff that I didn't like Guardians, not Guardians. I didn't like Leveler quite as much as other people. They were trying to go a little more between the Buried and Me at the time and get a little bit more technical. It was fine, but it seemed a little forced in certain ways. And I was like, when you guys like do your techie thing, but just keep it heavy, I was all about that. So, I didn't hate Leveler, but it just was not my absolute favorite by them.
I don't hate it. I just don't like it at all. And it's terrible.
Oh yeah. Another Warped Tour find for me was the Receiving End of Sirens. Actually, no, it wasn't Warped Tour. It was I believe, one show that I went to and saw Seosin. They were with Poison the Well and the Receiving End of Sirens. This was their album, The Earth Sings Me Fa Me, which when we were at the show, they were like releasing this album. So I bought this at the show, thought it was super cool, got back, into their older stuff. I actually think I had heard them before, again, with Pure Volume or something. So their album before this one with Shakespeare's like Rocking Out, and they did the vocal back and forth as well. They had two really good singers, and they would do the call and response. These guys rocked my socks. Not exactly metal, but I was loving it. I had friends showing me Dragon Force at the time. Again, for somebody who loves speed, melody, shred, I was like, yep, I loved it. I got to see them live. They had the fans blowing their hair on the stage. Made me laugh so hard. I was just like, how's their drummer doing double bass this long? It's been like 2.5 minutes and he's still just at 200 BPM, just. And then at a certain point in college, I was getting into Dream Theater. Oh man, I don't remember the first song, because that was back at the time when if you were on a shared network, you could click on other people's iTunes and download their entire library if you wanted. So I'm not saying I would ever do that, but I definitely did that. And I got a few albums from that. Not my most proud moment, but I listened to a lot of Dream Theater from that. I thought that The Changing of Seasons was the coolest thing ever. I was like, it's an 18-minute song. How can you beat that? This is unheard of, right? Like nobody's ever done this. These guys were writing music like this in the 90s. What's going on? So I felt like I was unlocking, some ancient history, and it was amazing. Now, at this point, I started transitioning a little bit into some more technical stuff. I, would go to Warped Tour with my friend every year, and we would hear bands like The Human Abstract. Now, again, why do I have Midheaven and I don't have the one that came before that I'm blanking on? Nocturne? Yeah. You have the techie classical trained. Wow. You have the techie classically trained guitarist who's playing like Bach. You've got the double bass and the blast beats behind it, and like the techie little. Nailed it. And then you had a really good vocalist who could hang with all that. Saw these guys live in a small local place, and I think that their vocalist was like downing the rest of some Jack Daniels. No, that might have been one of the guitarists, the one with the dreads. And like you're still playing these sweeps and stuff. It's like, okay. Dominance asserted. At the same time, don't drink, kids. It's okay. I'm not like against alcohol. I just wouldn't advocate for downing a bunch of Jack Daniels on stage. First of all, because Jack Daniels is really crummy. Second of all, because it's going to blow up your liver. Okay, what else we got? Oh, yeah, Protest. Of course, you got Protest the Hero that came in during this time, around the same time in Warped Tour. Keziah. They say Keziah. You could say Kezia. I had heard Fall of Troy at the time, right? But this was the spazziest thing that I actually liked listening to. Brody was a tremendous vocalist, had a lot of skill as well. This was a kind of crazy album, especially for me at the time. When did this come out? 2000. That was 2006. And then this one, 2007, Fortress. My goodness, it was on everybody who cared about metal's playlist at the time. Blood Meat. Oh, let's go. Sequoia Throne. I tried to learn a few of these songs as well on drums. Yeah, it didn't go the way that a great drummer would have had it go, but yeah, it was something special. You could tell that Rhodey was not a Christian. You could tell that he was bucking against some probably Christian upbringing at the time. But yeah, it's still, the music of it struck me. But there were times where, you could kind of overlook the lyrics. Maybe he's telling a historical story about war and bloodshed, and it's like, okay, it just sounds kind of brutal and it's kind of cool. And then the music, you pay attention to that music and it's like, holy smokes, man, I haven't listened to these albums all the way through in years. Of course, you got Becoming the Archetype back then again, which had the first song that I heard would have been off of The Physics of Fire, I believe. They were, brutal, fast, technical, things that you weren't hearing in a lot of Christian metal at the time, like not to this level. And so, and I shouldn't say that. There were a lot of bands I was ignorant of at the time. I get that, but for me, this was blowing my mind. I was digging that. No story would be complete without going over Sky Eats Airplane. It was very produced. The drums were super crisp. They could have been programmed. I don't even know. But when was this? 2008. Oh my! This was so ahead of its time, and I was like, there's no way that this is possible. And then I watch him play it live and I'm like, okay, you guys are tech lords. I love it. It was spazzy. Looking back, like they have like a little singing thing that would sound like some beautiful pre-chorus, and then they go, just like copy paste like different weird things back to back and then play them in a chain and you got a song. It was kind of mind blowing. And these guys finally picked up a drummer named Travis Orban, who I had been finding on YouTube at the time. He was the drumming, like above all drummers. He could take anyone's song and play it. He originally played in Periphery. He could learn all their new stuff that Matt was doing. He was, doing the playthroughs of the songs that he had actually recorded with them. And then he joins these guys and he had a couple videos of him playing some of their songs. And I was like, oh my gosh. The dude also is totally ambidextrous, right? So if you don't care about drums, you can just skip to the next part. But, normally a drummer plays with the right hand kind of doing eighth notes and stuff, and then the left hand hitting the snare a lot. This dude puts a snare in the middle and 2 hi-hats, 2 crashes, 2 rides, like all this stuff, very symmetrical, and then 2 toms, 1 on each side. And he could play left hand lead or right hand lead and like trade off like paradiddles and flams and ghost notes, and the dude opened my eyes to all kinds of crazy stuff. And so when that era started, that's when I started looking into gent more, and then my grades suffered for that one as well. But yeah, it all started with Sky Eats Airplane, and I got to see them live. He was in Sky Eats Airplane when I saw them. Or was he in Darkest Hour? Might have been in Darkest Hour, which is wild. But anyway, I got to actually, my wife set up a drum lesson with him at one of these live shows. I brought my little practice pad and we practiced. He showed me a couple things. I was like, tell me how you wrote the riff in Light. Like, how'd you figure out that weird, like, where are those snares hitting? They're not on 3. He's like, well, just imagine a polyrhythm and then you take out certain notes. And I was like, like just little things like that. And so he taught me some good warm-up exercises, things to increase precision and speed and things. So I just, Travis and Sky Eats Airplane, epic stuff. Oh, of course. During that time, you were also going to be very aware of a band called Veil of Maya, The Common Man's Collapse, and the one after, it's like the alien Sumerian god or something on it. I don't even know. Dude, Crawlback. Crawlback had, I think, a banger breakdown that I tried to learn, but then Mark the Lines. I used to be able to play that song on drums. Could not do that today. But yeah, I basically picked the song where he wasn't going to be blasting at like 210 or something. We Bow in Its Aura. I definitely tried to learn that one as well. I think I could play that. But yeah, these are just, oh my gosh, these were so good. Just a totally different type of, guitar writing that I was used to with so many breakdowns. And I loved the breakdowns. That's really what I wanted. And you just put a ton of them together, but it was like, you still had payoffs. You still had, melodic moments in between to break that up. So yeah, this was everything I needed back then. And of course I mentioned Between the Buried and Me, The Great Misdirect. I had colors first. My friend showed me colors and I was like, yeah, okay, I see it now. I remember in high school hearing Alaska and Selkies, and I was like, why do people like this? What's going on? It's kind of spastic and theatrical and funny. My friend was like, nobody actually likes this. It's just kind of like the joke, right? Like we just, listen to it. It's like, oh man, that's crazy. I was like, okay, cool. Then I was like, is it bad that I actually like it? Is that not a good thing? And then I found out that a lot of people actually liked it. So yeah, these guys were pretty pivotal for me, listening to Jason. Jason isn't his name. Oh my gosh. I'm going to literally look up his name right now. Richardson. Come on now, Where are we at? Oh, Blake Richardson. Jason Richardson. That's the guitarist. That's why I knew I wasn't right. Blake. When I listened to Blake's drumming, I was like, okay, yeah, there's a lot. And he didn't sound like somebody who was so trained and like so above me that I could never reach that level. And that's not a dig at him. It just seems like a dude who, you know, he grew up a product of his time listening to specific types of things and then trying to push himself and make himself better. Now he's at a level I'm, you know, never going to achieve. But at the time it was like, okay, yes, I probably can keep up with not you, but like a worse version of you, aka my band. So yeah, I was very inspired by these guys. And then of course, getting into the OGs of the gent world for me, again, you know, not if you want to include Meshuggah, joke, but Tesseract, I first heard Concealing Fate. It was when it was still a single and I didn't hear the connecting songs, but I saw them and I was like, I think Ackle had like the long wavy hair. I was like, these guys look like they're in Dream Theater too. What's going on? It was just so good. It was so groovy and, you know, big long sections that took a while to resolve and then carry into the next one. It blew my mind. I loved what I heard from Tesseract, started buying all their albums after that. And this is another one of those regrets that I have where I don't know where my Altered State album went, but I know I had it. Also on my iPod collecting dust. But man, I tried to learn so many of their songs as well. Maybe not so many, but I tried to learn Nocturne, Proxy. Yeah, it was, that was a good time. So yeah, wish I had that album as well. I don't know how, but I forgot one of my favorite prog bands when going through that era of my music journey, and that would be Pliny, guys. Okay, so Pliny was very special. I found him, it would have been early 2010s, and I fell in love with his Sweet Nothings EP. It just hit. It was instrumental, but it had like a lot of texture and like little things in there to keep you interested. Really well done. And then I found out the dude was just doing it alone in his bedroom in Australia. Now he's touring the world, which is amazing. And I actually got to chat with him once on Facebook to see if I could use one of his songs in a video I was doing. So yeah, I really like Pliny. He's one of those guys that can subtly weave in gent and jazz, and you know, you can tell he had like a metalcore background, maybe not musically exactly, but that he listened to it, because yeah, he's got all kinds of stuff woven through it. I mean, Pan gets super heavy on this one. I can't recommend Pliny enough. And then of course, during this time, I would be lying if I said that Era wasn't like the biggest influence for me. Again, another regret, I don't have the Impulse album. Where did it go? I know I owned it.
I am 99% sure.
I know it's been on my iPod, just collecting dust for over 10 years. Man, this one came out in 2013, so that one was like 2011 probably. So yeah, getting into the more technical stuff, but still metalcore roots and tons of melody. Well, and speaking of Seosin, Jesse Cash idolized Ko from Seosin, so he brought a lot of those types of vocals in, really high, soaring over the heavy stuff. And yeah, these two albums, Impulse and Augment, were as banger as they get, man. Garrison and Allen on there. Let's go. That's the dream team. My heart was still with melodic metalcore, so finding the band Novelists was a big deal for me. Their album Souvenirs and then the one after Noir. Oh my goodness. Well, I first heard these guys, they just had singles out at the time. They had Gravity and 20 Years. I think 20 Years was the first one I heard. Heartfelt was out as a single, and then they turned it into the album. Yeah, I really liked their style. French dudes. Their vocalist Mateo is, man, he was something to emulate, something special. I nearly forgot about these guys. Within the Ruins, Invade and Creature, those were some bonkers albums. Like, I was into the technical stuff, and this kind of fit that bill, but it was the first time I heard something super produced, really tight. And then I look at the drummer, I look at, live videos, like they actually could play a decent amount of that. Again, I know there was a little bit of controversy at the time, and now the controversy shifted to people who are like way more produced even somehow. But yeah, these two albums, I loved it. I tried to play, I can't read these almost. It's gonna bug me. Come on now. Tractor Pull off this album. I really wanted to learn on the drums because he had, especially at the end, the just blazing fast. Maybe I'll pull up an old video of that. Oh, at some point in that tech journey at Warped Tour, I heard This Is the Apocalypse. My gosh, this one, Haunt What's Left. I did have their first album with the Mauna Kea song on it or whatever, and that was like, I still remember seeing them live, and some guy was like, "Is that a polyrhythm?" And it's like where he's hitting, 1,000 cymbals in this. This album they produced with Chris Adler, Lamb of God drummer, right? And it was much more honed in, and I would say restrained, but like they still did their thing with this. It just wasn't as kind of spastic and techy as their earlier stuff. So yeah, this was such a cool album. 10 bangers right here. And during the first recording, again, I forgot another couple bands that I need to talk about. We've got Counterparts. Wow, that's really hard to see. And it broke somehow. I don't even remember that happening. But this is Nothing Left to Love. Everything is black. It's really hard to see. Yeah, I thought this was a great album. I first heard about Counterparts during Prophets. They were touring with someone. It could have even been August Burns Red. That would have been crazy. The number of change-ups, going from, like halftime to, double time and stuff like that, but the guitars stayed the same tempo. That was, I think, one of the first times that I really started to notice that that was a technique. The drums were way too clean and produced and stuff, but I still loved it. The Current Will Carry Us, I was like, not so much. The difference between Hell and Home was really good. Tragedy was super good. Their drummer for that, like, I don't remember his name, and I should maybe look it up. These drum parts, as far as I can tell, weren't really being done in the way that that drummer was doing on Tragedy Will Find Us, especially. They were super unique and clean. Like, I could not get over the production value of the album. The mixing and mastering of it was superb. And then You're Not You Anymore was a really big album. That was, gosh, I don't know. Brendan is a bit of an enigma for me. He has a lot of feelings. He gets a lot of them on paper for Counterparts. He has a big bone to pick with Christianity, of course, but overall, when he's just pouring his heart out, like, he can write really well, even when he's kind of describing ways that he wishes he would not be here anymore. And then the music itself is so high energy, super awesome. I can't get enough Counterparts. I remember somebody asking my friend, "Why do you like Counterparts so much?" And he was like, "Have you ever felt sad in life? Have you ever had like problems?" And they're like, "Well, no, not really." And he was like, "That's probably why then." They are not a band for the light of heart, I guess you could say. Even though I haven't experienced them all the same way that Brendan has, I can appreciate somebody going through that and the pain that he feels. Yeah, check out my old video I did for Counterparts. That one was, a great song bouquet. And yeah, these guys are sick. Back to the seas with ya. And then you'll probably have noticed from any old videos, if you've watched them, that I've had the clairvoyant, the contortionist featured on there. So this is their album Language. Shoosh. This was an epic album. They had Hollow. Oh boy, Hollow. Yeah, Hollow.
You know the thing.
Something holographic. They had several albums with their old vocalist. He did Exoplanet as well. Very cool. Super heavy. They come out swinging with the technical wheelie-woos and the just brutal vocals and stuff. But then they made an awesome prog album in Language, critically acclaimed, at least by me. And then I got Clairvoyant, Our Bones. I didn't realize it was going to be an EP, so I bought like the t-shirt pre-order and everything, and then I was like, oh, it's just an EP. And I will say the artwork on Our Bones ended up really cool, and Early Grave was on this, so it was a good EP. Michael Lassard is such an awesome vocalist. He's a boss. He's got some big vocal chops, and yeah, I'm really impressed with these guys. And then moving forward a little bit further into the tech realm, I found Persephone Somewhere, and I heard it, and I was like, this is so cool. I go and look it up, and the dudes look like they played in Dream Theater in the past or something, but they play awesome. You could call it technical death metal, progressive death metal, things like that. And with the melodies in there and the singing moments and like the big things that open up, I mean, go watch my video where I talk through that. But I was just amazed. It's obviously like an instruction manual on how to be new age, how to have a spiritual migration to the source, all that stuff. But still, just I could not get over their music and their singing and just their overall style with the keyboards, the melodies. Big fan of the Persephone stuff. And okay, one more band, just really quick. No Bragging Rights is a melodic hardcore / metalcore band.
Dude, no, we can see your shirt. We know you're punching in again. Is this like the third time?
4 if you include the ad.
Pretty sure that's illegal.
I know, but dude, I have to talk about No Bragging Rights.
Yes, you do, but why not just talk about them when you recorded Counterparts?
Dude, I know.
Same genre, right? Because they're basically the same and even more melodic version of Counterparts. What with their heartfelt singing parts and delightfully hopeful yet speedy riffs.
Hey, dude, are you reading my script?
Yes, I read your script. We have to make sure to do our boys justice.
Dude, I know. Just let me do this.
Dude, why did you have to record so many extra times?
Because I'm old. Okay? I can't remember every band the first time. I go through it. And I see the albums randomly while I'm editing the video or walking around. And
Okay, fine. You know the clip I'm thinking of right now?
Yeah, I do.
And you know I have to put it in, right?
All right, just play it.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Thank you. Truly. I deserve that.
Hey, look at me. You've got this, man.
Well, I guess since he's gone and already read half the script to you, I'll just speak from my heart. Look, I was obsessed with No Bragging Rights when I first heard them. Okay, I first heard Repeater. I think it was a random YouTube poll, and my heart needed a hopeful kick in the pants at the time. It was good. It was very good. They put so much melody and aggression into it. It's everything that Counterparts has, but instead of leaving you face down in the dirt when you're done listening to it, you are uplifted, hopeful. You feel like you can just throw a tree over a mountain. It just feels like you've been listening to them for a long time when you first discover them. It's like a warm blanket of nostalgia. And this self-title was so well put together. Strengths perspective, Walking Blind, The Weight, huge. And their lead singer, Mike, is a super sweet, solid guy, very kind. I got to have an interview with him, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. Yeah, I can't get enough of MBR. Seriously. And during my tech exploration journey, I eventually came across Uneven Structure. This is their album Fabruce. I did a video for Frost and Hail. Oh boy, this blew my mind. And right there, I found these guys on Basic Records on Bandcamp. That's how I found a lot of really good music. Random bands that haven't been around like since I first heard them. Some bands have continued. One of them you may have heard of called Sleep Token, little band. This album it still is probably my favorite Gent album of all time. I love the artwork. It looked mysterious and colorful and dark and weird. And the music, it just hit. Listen to it while working out all the time. When I was like first learning how to squat and deadlift and everything, I loved this album. So good. So that wraps up the CD tour. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I certainly did. There's many of these CDs that I have not looked at since I first put them on the shelf. Let me know which of these albums you guys had, which ones were maybe formative in a similar way, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Bye. It like updated the thing. It was looking vertical instead of sideways. If you're going to throw a curveball like that at me, how do you expect me to possibly recover from that? No, I don't think I will. Nah, no one cares.